Nicole Foley. She is a partner at the Jaffe Law Firm, and she joins us via Zoom. Counselor, thank you for joining us here on the MegaCast.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So you look like you don't look like you're in a law office with a bunch of law books and paperwork and stuff. You look like you're in a comfy spot.
Yep. I tried to pick a comfy spot to do the interview. Yes.
Well,
Not in the office.
Is everyone doing okay in your home? We ask everyone. We're talking to everyone via Zoom, and we just want to make sure you're doing okay, your family's doing okay, and everyone is all right.
We're all doing well. Yep. I have three young boys and super busy with school, but everyone is healthy and doing well. Thank you.
So how's that going? Are they in high school or junior high or elementary school or?
No, they're all in elementary school,
Of course.
fifth grade, third grade, and first grade, and they have a busy virtual class schedule.
How,
So it's
I know this is
it's
not what we asked you
interesting
on the
working
show.
from home.
I know this is not why we have you here, but this is just we go wherever we go on this show. We got
Yeah.
time. What's it like, Mom? How's that all going? Are you helping out?
I am helping. It's been really busy with work, so luckily they are pretty self-sufficient. I get, most of my questions from the 6-year-old. So, but they're pretty good about. They get online and they know where they need to go and where they need to start, and try to take breaks during the day. But it's been a challenge, but everyone's adapting well.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm sure you're balancing it all well. Nicole Foley is joining us via Zoom. She's with the Jaffe Law Firm. It's funny that you're on the show today because I was having a chat with my neighbor yesterday in the sunshine, 6 feet away with our face masks on. And we were just talking, and let me just put this situation out. It's one of a million I'm sure people have. He was on unemployment. His employer got the PPP program, so he took him off unemployment, put him back on payroll, and he is supposed to go to work today. My neighbor is a little bit older, though, and has asthma, and he doesn't want to go back to work. He feels that it might put his health in jeopardy. So we have an employer side, we have an employee side. I hope you don't mind me just throwing that scenario out in front of you. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not uncommon. I think a lot of people are afraid in that particular situation, probably absent some sort of a note from his physician recommending that he's in a high risk category and that he should continue to stay home. He probably should return to work. So if he does have, a serious health issue like asthma, he should probably talk to his doctor and get a note. And then, he can talk through that with his physician or talk through it with his employer. And, there's lots of different possibilities. If he works somewhere where he can be away from other people, they can try to come up with some sort of a flexible arrangement. If that's not possible, then they really should follow doctor's orders and he should remain off work.
See, you make me feel so good because I was playing dime store lawyer with him yesterday, and that's what I said. Go get a note from your doctor. He said, well, I haven't gotten a note from my doctor since I was in third grade. I said, well, maybe now it's time to get a note from your doctor. So if we do have a note from our physician that says going back to work might endanger us right now, that would be the thing to do. Take that to your employer. Then you don't get into some big debate. Would that be your recommendation?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, so long as they're legitimate health concerns, I think that employers often worry that maybe employees are taking advantage, and maybe employers are thinking, well, I'm really scared and I should just get a note. But people with legitimate, significant health issues absolutely should be talking to their physicians and getting a note if the doctor thinks that the best thing for them to do is to stay home, and to continue to isolate.
So we've done the basic things as we're getting ready to open up one of our operations. The broadcast operation is essential, but we've only had a couple of us in here to keep all the other people at home. We've done that. We even tried wearing our masks on the air one day. It didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
But at our other facility, which is a non-essential facility, we're hoping it's going to open soon. We got the temperature sensor for our foreheads. We got masks for everybody. Those are the obvious things. What else should an employer do right now as they're getting ready to open their business up?
Well, so employers really need to make sure they have a plan in place. and they should obviously only be returning employees to work who are part of the critical infrastructure, or if they're part of conducting minimum basic operations. And now if they're part of this new lessening of the restrictions and these resumed employees. So, you should make sure that they fall within one of those categories, and only those employees who are necessary and fit within one of those categories are returned to work. And employers should have a really strong plan in place in terms of screening protocols, social distancing, the use of PPE, and sanitizing and disinfecting. And I think if they have a strong plan in place that addresses each of those things, it does make for a smooth transition. So, the screening protocols can be a little bit challenging because sometimes they're industry specific. Some of the governor's executive orders dictate what you need to do. Some of the local ordinances dictate what you need to do. And so you need to, employers need to make sure that they're following whatever guidelines are set for them. But, they need to be asking questions like, do you have a fever? Atypical cough, atypical sore throat, atypical chest congestion, and some of the local ordinance even ask if there's atypical diarrhea, as all of those are symptoms or possible symptoms of COVID. If you choose to do the temperature check, you can only do it with a touchless thermometer. So you have to think about that. Employers have to think about how are they going to have their employees answer these questionnaires. Are they going to have it all printed out? Are employees going to wait in their car, fill out the questionnaire? Because these are screening questions that employees should be answering before every shift. Are you going to have them line up at the door? And if you do, you have to make sure that they're 6 feet apart. So employers really need to look at how can they best meet these screening protocols and what fits with their particular work environment. The construction industry is just getting ready to open up, and one of the protocols in place is that they have specific entry points, so that, because there's a lot more people on a construction site, so people aren't just walking around and you don't know if they've been screened. So employers really need to look at, what screening protocols apply to them and what works for their business and what's going to keep their employees safe. Social distancing, obviously, the 6 feet, it sounds easy enough, but employers really need to look at their business and say, okay, if I'm in an office setting, how am I going to keep my office workers 6 feet apart? Am I going to have them every other desk? What are we going to do about lunchtime? Are we going to have 10 people to the lunchroom at a time because we have 10 tables and they can each sit at a table? And can I set up another area for lunchroom? Can I stagger lunches? And if you're outdoors, if you're in the construction industry, how are you going to keep people 6 feet apart? If you have to get on, elevators or pass in hallways, these are all things that employers should be thinking about and at least trying to come up with safe protocols that they can communicate to their employees. Use of PPE is another one. All employers are required to provide their employees with masks. If you're outdoors, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to wear a mask if you can be 6 feet apart. If you're within an enclosed space, employees are supposed to wear these masks. And then again, industry specific, are you required to provide your employees with gloves, face shields? If you're in a retail industry, should you have a plexiglass in between, you and a customer in a checkout line? These are all things that employers need to think about and check the executive orders, check the local ordinances, check with industry groups. I've even had clients who have checked with their competitors to see what competitors are doing to make sure that they're trying to do, all of the things that they can do to keep their employees safe.
Nicole, Nicole, thanks for making it so easy.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm
kidding
giving
me?
people things that they need to think about. That's the most important thing. What do I need to be thinking about? What do I need to be considering to keep people safe?
I'm so
That's
glad this is, listen, I said this, I'll keep saying it. This thing got really tangled up, and this was a tangled mess, shutting it down. Untangling it, oh my goodness, this is complicated.
Yeah.
Least we even get into the political challenges going on in Lansing right now, which we're going to leave on the sidelines for today. Just trying to figure out how to implement this is not easy. You were going to add one more thing before I interrupted you.
Oh, no, just, the sanitizing and disinfecting.
All right.
Just making sure you have those things available. Really, to have a smooth transition is having a plan, communicating that plan, being confident about your plan and listening to your employees when they raise concerns.
Nicole
Because,
Foley is joining
you know,
us. She's a partner with the Jaffe Law Firm. Nicole, how do we get what do we do to help people get this information? Because I look around on the internet. Tyler, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't see that list organized easily anywhere. You got to read through the governor's order and figure out this and figure out that. Do you see that anywhere, Tyler?
Not in great detail.
No.
I mean, other than like you said, reading the governor's order, it's tough to kind of decipher what exactly those regulations are and how it applies to your workplace.
Nicole, I think I saw you have a legal pad there. Could you just send me a copy of whatever it says on that legal pad, or hold it up to the TV?
There you
Yeah,
go.
see?
Here's my notes.
Yeah, there you
My
go.
scribbled, messy
Hold
notes,
that back
so I
up for
wouldn't
one more
forget.
second. That's going to be like, remember when, was it Tim Russert who was during the election, remember doing the thing in front of the nation? That's kind of what your legal pad is like. So we don't have your legal pad and we don't have your experience. What do we do, Nicole Foley, partner Jaffe Law Firm?
Well, feel free to check out our website because Jaffe does have a lot of different sources of information. I created a quick glance, if your employees are saying they have certain symptoms and what do you do in response to that. So we have lots of good information on there. So I do actually have checklists. So absolutely check out the website. And, the CDC has good information. OSHA has good information. And I am actually going to be working on putting together a little bit more comprehensive return your employee to work plan. So you can certainly check out the Jaffe website and see when that checklist comes out.
Well, maybe we can have a conversation offline. We could put some kind of video or do it. We could do a whole show. I mean, literally on this issue because it's complicated. You say go to the CDC site, counselor. I don't mean to, contradict your instructions, but you'll get one story from the federal government. You'll get another story from the state government. And here in Oakland County, Dave Coulter and the team out there doing a really good job, and they have their own set of regulations. You got to take all of those. It's not really that easy. So, man, I'm so glad that we met and that you're here to help us figure this out because it's complicated.
It is complicated. It absolutely is. And I think everyone really is doing their best.
I think so.
And that's all you can ask for.
I think so. And then, from an employee standpoint, should there be like another checklist for employees? Because not every employer is going to get this right. Some are, some aren't. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with an employer or an employee, rather, in a nice, non-confrontational way, telling their employer, look, I think you missed this step. You might want to take a look at it. You don't have to make a federal case out of it. But,
Right.
Don't you think that's appropriate, too?
I do, absolutely. And I think that employers should really listen to employees who are making these types of suggestions because there might be things that employers haven't thought about. I had a client who was putting together a plan and the employee said, well, what about the lunchroom? What if we're all touching the refrigerator? And so they sort of sat down and came up with a plan that for the next couple of weeks, you can only bring your lunch from home in a thermos. Or, you go eat in your car, or, they came up with plans because the employer, frankly, hadn't thought about how people were going to be using the lunchroom and using that space. So these are things that employees are thinking about and they are concerned about, and employers should take those concerns seriously and try to be flexible and come up with different plans.
Nicole Foley, partner, Jaffe Law Firm, joining us today, talking about reopening our businesses and how it's all going to work. Would you say that your average HR director in a company that's got maybe 50 or more employees, that HR director should have all this information through the resources they have, or do you think they're also struggling to figure these things out?
I think it's a little of both. I think that HR directors are very cognizant of how difficult these issues are. Hopefully they're reaching out to their counsel. And I think that people are slowly trying to put this information together. And I do think that HR directors are trying to come up with a plan that's going to keep everybody safe.
All right, Nicole, I appreciate you joining us. And I really empathize for people that have businesses like mine that, we got around 20 employees and businesses that are smaller. You just don't have all these other resources. It gets confusing. You're trying to, run your business, keep things afloat apply for your PPP loans, keep your employees' heads screwed on straight while they're going through the same things you're going through, and then now I need your whole legal pad on top of it. I mean, it's hard, especially for the people, and there's a ton of us out there. All the restaurants and the retail shops, and these guys, they're not open yet, but they're all getting ready to open, and they're, over the next month, a ton of people. I don't think we're getting in the weeds here. A ton of people, virtually anyone who is either working somewhere or employing people, they're going to have to go through. They're going to have to know all of these issues, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, I'm delighted to work with you and anyone else that wants to help get the information out. So, you're obviously in the business of being a lawyer and making money, but you're helping people, I presume, by getting this information on your website so people that aren't even your clients can go there and at least get some information and get some help?
Absolutely. There's lots of information on there that anybody can go on and take a look, print it off. There's some really good checklists on there across all different, areas of the law, contracts and the PPP loans and what to do with them and, electronic banking. And if you have contracts and how you meet your contracts. So there's a lot of good information that we have posted on our website. I know other law firms do too, but there's a lot of good information on Jaffe's website.
And then I assume you guys are all pretty busy. If a business owner wants to retain counsel right now to figure this stuff out to make sure they're not missing a beat, do you think they'll be able to find somebody if they don't have an existing relationship?
I think so, yeah. I think that, law firms are particularly, they're refocusing their efforts on getting people back, construction industry. So we're all busy, but we're all working toward the same goal. So I think that lawyers are available to help for sure.
And what are the consequences? Final question. I know you're busy. What are the consequences of not getting this right? I mean, if we do our best and we get close, is that good enough? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to depend. I think it's going to depend on how close they get. I think if depending on where an employer, hopefully, fingers crossed, they don't make mistakes, but, if they make a mistake under the Families First Act, there are consequences like there would be under the FMLA. So those are certainly more severe consequences. If they get something wrong under one of the executive orders or their local ordinances, the consequences are not as severe, except, of course, if someone gets sick. So what consequences are we talking about? Litigation in business or keeping people healthy? So there's consequences either way. It just depends on if they get it wrong and where they get it wrong.
Yeah, I was really concerned because I heard a news report on one of the other media outlets today as I was driving in, and they were talking about the challenge that we have right now. Our frontline first responders and doctors and other folks that are treating people, given the fact, and again, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but this whole two sets of government authority for the governor to act. One of them is still in effect. The other one expired. And the one that expired had all the protections built into it for first responders and folks so they wouldn't get sued. Because it's not inconceivable. Somebody gets sick. It's not inconceivable. They might try to sue somebody because they would blame somebody for getting the coronavirus. To me, that seems like a crazy case. I don't know how you blame any one person for getting you sick, but that kind of stuff, we got to be worried about that, right? And they'll fix that in Lansing, I hope. But for everybody else, should we, as employers in non-first responder situations, be concerned about the same thing?
Unfortunately, I think that employers always have to be concerned about litigation and employees bringing litigation. In the case of, businesses that are not first responders, it would be difficult for an employee to make a case to be able to demonstrate that they got sick because of their job. But that's not to say that people won't try to make that argument.
Right. And it's not to say that most employers, virtually everybody out there, and everyone listening, at least everyone listening to this extremely high-quality broadcast, all of our listeners, they don't want anybody to get sick. They want. Listen, the employers want to do the right thing. It's just hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. Anything else you want to add before we say so long?
No, just, everyone try to work together and be flexible as we all get through this together.
And again, Nicole Foley, partner, Jaffe Law Firm, your website where there's a lot of information.
We're at www.jaffelaw.com.
And that is JAFFELAW.com, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Wow, I finally spelled something right, Tyler. All right. Yes.
Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I'd like to connect with you when I get off the air today and see if there's anything else we can do to get the message out. I think you did a great job sharing the information with our audience today.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.